GOP pollster Lee Carter, Hadley Heath Manning with the Independent Women's Forum, and former Democratic Congressman Jason Altmaier. Congressman, let me end with you, because a lot of the friction we've seen has been very polarizing. The Democrats on one side of this, Republicans on the other side, very little overlap here. And it harkens back to what you've written about and talked about, that it is a very poisoned well, and it's coming into real-time play here. What do you make of it?
It's unfortunate. I tweeted out on the anniversary a couple of days ago when Sandra Day O'Connor was confirmed 99-0. It didn't used to be that the minority party, whoever it was, automatically came out against the nomination for the Supreme Court. And then you have these protesters that you see, very toxic atmosphere. It appears that this New Yorker article that was talked about over the last 24 hours might be unraveling. So it may very well come down to Thursday. I think both witnesses have every right to be heard, and we'll see what happens. But it's just unfortunate that the nomination has been mired in this type of toxicity. You know, the New York Times, which didn't run with the New Yorker piece, Hadley, had argued that there was very little, actually no corroboration of the charges. And I'm wondering, there's not much more on the part of Dr. Ford, if you think about it here, but nevertheless, she is going to be able to state her case, and maybe that comes through in the back and forth here. But where is Thursday going?
Oh, Thursday's a big day in Washington. That's certainly true. It's going to be very difficult for Dr. Ford or any other accuser to prove the allegations that they're bringing against Judge Kavanaugh. On the flip side, it's almost impossible for Judge Kavanaugh to disprove these allegations. That's what's so ugly about our politics. People are retreating to their corners, believing what they want to believe. And as the congressman mentioned, what's wrong with our politics when it comes to the Supreme Court outstepping its role, stepping into policymaking. That's what's brought us here. That's why the confirmation process is so politicized, even to the point of politicizing allegations over something as serious as sexual misconduct.
You know, Lee Carter, obviously, our own Martha McCallum has a chance to talk to Judge Kavanaugh and his wife. I look forward to that on her fine show. In the meantime, he has put out a number of statements today, tweets, whatever, to sort of argue his position that he's not giving up the good fight here. But again, Republicans, or at least those questioning Dr. Ford, are damned if they do, damned if they don't. They can appear as, chauvinist bores if they try to go into or pick apart her allegations. So what do they do?
Oh, that's the million-dollar question. I mean, this is a very, very difficult position to be in. The fact that all Republicans that are on the Judiciary Committee are sort of middle to older age men. We don't have any females that can go in and make these questions seem soft or make them seem that they have any empathy. I think it's going to be a really, really challenging position. My hope is that they enter into these conversations with compassion and with understanding, maybe even telling their own stories as they're asking the questions of experience that they've had, whether it's daughters or wives or friends who have come forward to them. Because the truth of the matter is 1 in 3 women has experienced some kind of a sexual assault or victimization. And so we all are surrounded by this. And I don't want in any way, shape, or form, the last thing we want to see happen is women become afraid to tell their stories because this goes the very, very wrong way. We don't want, we want the truth to come out. And I don't want it to become a political game, a political show, and I don't think anybody does. But right now what we're seeing out there is 1/3 of Americans have already decided that Kavanaugh is guilty. 1/3 have decided that they already support Ford. And there's only 1/3 out there who are waiting to find out what we hear on Thursday, and that's really dangerous. The fact that we're looking at a state of affairs where somebody is presumed innocent until, the whole notion that you're presumed innocent until otherwise proven guilty is at play here, and we're at odds with that. And I think it's really, really concerning. And I think that the senators have a huge responsibility going into Thursday.
I don't know if it's moving any needles here, and Congress, maybe that's the issue. Every senator I've had a chance to talk to on this issue, even those I haven't, but they've commented on it. Let's say on the Republican side, very fine senator at the top of the show said, I'm going to make sure this woman has her say, but making very, very clear that Judge Kavanaugh has his vote. Again, unless something stunning happens. Democrats have been saying we want to make sure we hear from Judge Kavanaugh to respond to these charges, but making it equally clear that they're a no vote anyway. So is this just like kabuki theater here? When you have a 51-49 majority, of course, you can only lose 2.
and there are at least 3 or 4 that are in play, it appears, on the Republican side. So if Dr. Ford gives a very credible testimony on Thursday and makes it difficult for 2 out of those 3 or 4, then it's possible the nomination could go under because of it. We'll just have to wait and see what happens on Thursday.
All right, I mentioned earlier, guys, that our Martha McConnell had a chance to sit down with Judge Kavanaugh and his wife and raise the issue whether this was pushing them to the brink. Take a look.
Did you guys ever look at each other and say, I'm out, this is enough, just isn't worth it?
I'm not going to let false accusations drive us out of this process, and we're looking for a fair process where I can be heard and defend my integrity, my lifelong record of promoting dignity and equality for women, starting with the women who knew me when I was 14 years old. I'm not going anywhere.
You know, Hadley, I don't want to read too much into that, but given their original pause, I thought it must have crossed their mind.
You know, Lee mentioned all the victims of sexual assault and sexual harassment in this country. We don't know, as I said initially, we can't prove or disprove some of these accusations, and we can't adjudicate all the facts of the case here, but if the accusations are false, let's remember that false accusations have victims too, and it's not fair to just side automatically with one party or the other when it comes to cases like this. You hear from the Kavanaugh family. Certainly, they too are experiencing a lot of pain as a result of this nomination process.
All right, guys, I want to thank you all very, very much.